Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and today we're going to be talking about the next round of balance changes in Clash Royale. I found some official news online today regarding the Season 8 balance update, and I also found some discussion online from Seth from the Clash Royale team regarding matchmaking in Clash Royale. Is it rigged? Is it not rigged? We're going to discuss that, guys, and more in today's video. And then afterwards, we'll dive into my personal balance change wish list, all the cards that I want to see changed in the next balance update. Let's go ahead, guys, and dive into the official news regarding Season 8 in Clash Royale. So over on the Clash Royale Reddit, I found a post from Seth from the Clash Royale team regarding Season 8. He says right here, so far, there doesn't seem to be many outlier cards. Almost everything is within expected ranges, and the cards that are above that range aren't urgent / could be benefiting from the meta. If things stay the same, you can expect an all buff balance update, though we have reduced the amount of rework level of changes that are coming up. The cards that needed reworks will probably end up getting buffs. Here's one that we've been playing with that'll probably come in February. But as always, nothing is final / could change. The Barbarian Hut, lifetime reduced from 60 seconds to 50 seconds. Spawn time reduced from 13.5 to 12.5. And then adding a death spawn of 2 Barbarians. The reduced lifetime and added death spawn work out to the same number of spawns. But the building becomes a bit more spell resistant since there is no way to remove the death spawn by damaging the building. The waves also end up closer together with a shorter spawn time, providing more defense and offense. It's also nice for the meta that the Barbarian Hut would not survive as long, as spawner spam is usually not a fun meta, so we want to ensure the Barbarian Hut didn't go on the board for a full minute. So, that's your first bit of news, guys, for Season 8. Potentially an all buff, no nerf balance update in Season 8, including a pretty massive buff for the Barbarian Hut. Now, I'm absolutely in love with part of this idea right here. I agree that there aren't too many cards in the meta right now that are overpowered and need a nerf, but there are a bunch of cards in the game that are fairly weak and can use some love. So the idea of an all buff update is awesome in my opinion, and I'm absolutely in love with it. However, with that being said, I don't know how I feel about a Barbarian Hut buff specifically, just because it is a very slow defensive card, and as you guys know, facing any spawner decks can be a fairly frustrating experience, but hopefully with a 50-second duration, it isn't nearly as annoying. Now, I also found some news regarding 2 more cards in Clash Royale. The first one is the heal spell. Somebody asked, hey Seth, what happened to the rework to the heal spell? You said you had something really cool planned for it. Is that still on the table, or was it dismissed? He mentions, still coming, the mechanics are finalized, but we're just waiting on some assets. Now, the way he says waiting on some assets, obviously I think assets are like the visual effect that you see in game, suggests that they're changing the card substantially. New mechanics for the heal spell, new assets, suggesting a massive change. Now, if there is new assets, I believe they need a full client update to add the asset. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But if they do need to do client update, then it probably won't be coming until the next major update in Clash Royale, which, if I had to guess, would either be March or April. But that's pretty cool, guys. Pretty massive change coming for the heal spell. One more card he mentions here, guys, is the Elite Barbarians. Somebody asked about E-Barbs getting a rework. He mentions right here, you know, the hardest part about reworking E-Barbs is that E-Barb players just love them the way they are. Every time we survey E-Barb players about reducing their speed in exchange for stats, their response is universally, I like them because they are fast and people can't react to them in time. Unlike players of other weak cards who understand there may be a trade-off to be overall better, E-Barb players seem pretty locked on to the fact that the speed is a must-kept part of the card. So, kind of just an interesting insight into E-Barbs. If they were to rework them, it sounds like they would have still a fast movement speed. It's kind of like a cool insight that I want to share with you guys regarding Elite Barbarians. Now, that's kind of like the news for Season 8. All buff update, potential buff for the Barbarian HUD as well. Let's go ahead now, guys, and shift focus to matchmaking in Clash Royale. Is it rigged or is it not rigged? We have an official response about rigged matchmaking from Seth, the Clash Royale team. So here's what I have to say, guys. Somebody asked about matchmaking. He mentions right here, we've answered this dozens of times, but matchmaking on ladder is based on trophies. Only trophies, not card levels. However, if you are on a losing streak, 3 or more losses, we match you against other players that are also on losing streaks. It's still trophy based. We just limit the pool to other players at your trophies also on a loss streak. The winning player ends their loss streak and resumes normal matchmaking. That's it. That's the truth. Okay? What he has to say here, though, is that this is pretty funny. He's people that think that matchmaking is rigged are emotionally looking for an answer to their losses, not seeking some factual resolution. Matchmaker conspiracies are psychologically really similar to flat earthers or anti-vaxxers. No amount of proof will satisfy them because the conspiracy is providing the emotional validation they are seeking. However, obviously, party mode is level based, which is shown in the pop-up because it's, there's no trophies involved. Okay, so party mode is level based matchmaking, not trophy. Now, this is kind of cool because I actually kind of agree with this, with the whole matchmaking conspiracy stuff, because here's the thing. When I'm winning in Clash Royale, I'm never thinking ever that matchmaking is rigged. I never win a battle and go like, oh, hey, Clash Royale matchmaking is rigged and gave me a free win. I never think that. Whenever I win, I'm like, oh, I beat because I'm a better player, right? Whenever you lose, though, you're like, I lost because matchmaking is rigged. So I can see his point here in that the whole kind of emotional looking for an answer thing. Because when you're winning, like, you never think matchmaking is rigged. But when you're losing or you're tilting, you're like, oh, this game is rigged. I keep facing hard counters, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing, like, when there are certain counter cards to your deck, you notice them more, right? For example, arrows. If you're using Minion Horde and you face arrows, you notice it like crazy. You're like, oh man, this is rigged, I'm facing arrows. If you're using a regular deck and you face arrows, you don't give it another thought. You see the arrows in the battle, you don't think about it too much. But when you have Minion Horde in your deck, you're like, oh man, this is rigged, right? Even though, probability-wise, you're going to be facing arrows in Clash Royale. And I agree. I agree that I only really ever think it's rigged when I'm losing. However, the one exception for that is I have noticed a lot in the past some kind of not randomness in my personally biased opinion, in that, like, I'll face the most random card combo, like, the same 4 cards in a deck, like Valkyrie, Minion Horde, Hog Rider, Rage, the most random card combo, and I'll face it like 3 or 4 times in a row. And I'm like, oh, seriously? Is that random? How can that be random? So, I don't know. I'm still kind of like, maybe I'm just one of those conspiracy theorists looking for emotional validation, but like, I notice these random kind of like not random things every so often. And I'm like, how can that be? If it's not random, if it is random, sorry, how can that be? Just kind of like, I guess, seeing a trend when there really isn't a trend. And I think he actually commented on that too. Right here he says, this doesn't feel random is the best way to describe human relationship with probability. Well, I mean, it could be true. I'm not a psychologist, but maybe it's true. Because we seek a narrative to understand our world. And that's true. We do. Humans do that. We want to understand things. We want to have, there has to be a reasoning for things, right? It can't just be random. It has to be a reason. So, I kind of agree with that, but that's the end of our discussion, guys, on matchmaking and Season 8 balance changes. Let's go ahead now and shift focus to my personal balance update wish list. And it's honestly been a while since I did a video like this. I haven't done an update wish list in like 4 months, mostly because I stopped doing them because I didn't really think people cared what I thought. So if you guys want to see more of these balance wish list videos in the future, leave a like on the video and let me know down below in those comments. But we already know potentially no nerfs this balance update. And I gotta agree, on this list of, the best cards in Clash Royale, there aren't a whole lot that stand out to me as being like brokenly overpowered. If I had to think of one or two, I would think, maybe Wall Breakers and Magic Archer. But they aren't like grossly overpowered, right? Let's go ahead, guys, and dive into my 8-card buff list. The first card on my buff list here is the Royal Recruits. You guys all know the story by now of the recruits on how they were released, nerfed, killed, and then dead. Personally, I think it's time they had some love. Give them like a, 4% more health or 4% more damage. One or the other. 4% more health, 4% more damage, and then, try that for a month. And if that doesn't work, then give them more health, and then give them more health, right? Do this, slight steps forward, not a huge change, just a slight nudge. 4% more health, 1 balance update, wait 2 months. If it's still not enough, 4% more health above that. The next card on my list, guys, is the Zappies, which is right here. This is Zappies. For some reason, Royale API doesn't load it. But, I think we can all agree by now that Zappies needs a change. Personally, I think just buff them, give them back the hit speed they had before that change. And I kind of think maybe when Seth says over here that they've reduced the rework level of changes right here, maybe that's kind of like a hint for the Zappies. Because as you guys know, they had all these kind of crazy reworks planned for Zappies. But maybe that whole kind of reducing rework stuff factors into Zappies. We'll kind of see hopefully soon. But, just give them the buff. I think they need some love. It's been over a year and a half almost now of the Zappies being dead. This is now is time, I think. The next time my buff list, guys, is going to be the Elite Barbarians. I know what you guys might think of E-Barbs. However, these stats just do not lie. 12% win rate. One of the lowest win rates in the entire game. The second lowest win rate, guys, in the entire game. In Grand Challenges, by the way, all of these stats are provided by Royale API in Grand Challenges. The reason I use Grand Challenge stats is because they had Tourney Standard and you have equal level cards. On Ladder, you have over level cards. Cards might seem stronger, but they're just over leveled. E-Barbs at equal level are really, really, really bad. Less than 1% use rate and a phenomenally low win rate. 12% wins. So what I would do is I would give the E-Barbs a shield. Yeah, I said it. Give the E-Barbs a shield. Make their helmet their shield. When they lose their shield, their helmet falls off, then they become just E-Barbs with no helmet. But the problem with E-Barbs is like you can use them for 6 elixir, and they die to like, fire spirits for 2. Or they die to like a mini pack that just destroys them. Give them a shield. Or the other option is make them spawn, 1 tile further apart. So that things like Wizard or whatever won't splash both of them, right? Make them spawn 1 tile further apart. The next card on my buff list here is the Witch. I think we can all agree right now, guys, the Witch is in a very, very bad spot. It's the single lowest win rate card in the entire game of Clash Royale. And I think that the Witch right now is in a way worse spot than it was before the rework ever happened in October. And I think, like, when you rework a card and it ends up worse than it was to begin with, I think there should be a bit of urgency to kind of fixing it. So hopefully we see a buff for the Witch in the next balance update, either faster first hit speed, faster attack speed, or wider splash radius, or faster first spawn of skeletons. The next card on my buff list here, guys, is going to be a pretty controversial one, and that is the Wizard. I know what you guys think about Wizard. A lot of you guys hate it. And here's the thing. I have a level 10 free-to-play account that I play frequently on Ladder, level 10. It's usually around 5,000 trophies. I always face against level 12s or level 13s that have max Wizards, max Hog Riders, max Royal Giants. So I understand your pain. I am very, very used to facing a bunch of Wizard decks. Like literally 80% of my battles on my level 10 account, are against a Wizard. They always have Wizard in their deck. Always. And it's always max level. So I know how annoying it can be at max level. However, it's important here that we separate the issue of over-leveling and card strength. Individually, the Wizard is not a strong card. It has the 3rd lowest win rate in the entire game at tourney standard. And, you know, at high trophy ranges, no one ever uses it because it's a weak card. But it dominates mid-ladder because it's over-leveled. However, I think we should separate the whole issue of over-leveling and card strength. What I would do, pretty interesting idea here, is give the wizard a damage over time effect with her fireball, or with his fireball. So that way when she shoots a fireball, maybe the ground is on fire for 1 or 2 more seconds and deals damage over time. I don't know, just kind of a cool idea to buff the wizard, just because it just, you know, it isn't a strong card. It's annoying on ladder, but it's not a strong card. And like I said before, guys, I'm very much used to facing over-leveled wizards on ladder. I win like 90% of my battles against them, right? But individually, the card itself just isn't really that strong. The next time I buff this, guys, is going to be the Goblin Barrel. You know, Log Bait, even though it is a popular deck, hasn't been a top-tier strategy, isn't really even a mid-tier strategy for a while now. And so what I would do is I would give the Goblin Barrel itself impact damage, make it deal like 25 to 50 damage from the Goblin Barrel itself every time it lands. Just a kind of random idea to buff the Goblin Barrel. 37% win rate, very, very low win rate, guys. And like I said before, even though Goblin Barrel bait is popular, it's not really a good strategy, and it hasn't been for a while now. The next time I buff this, guys, is the newest card in Clash Royale, the Firecracker. Obviously, when the card first came out with the card level boost, everyone was using her, so her use rates were insane. But since the month has progressed, the use rates of the Firecracker have dropped substantially, and very few decks are using her right now, and she only has a 42% win rate. Now, remember, everyone has her upgraded, so that's not the issue here. So I think the 40% for the 42% win rate here is fairly low. I would like to see a buff for the Firecracker. Here's my idea: make her first attack faster, because it's so slow right now, because it's kind of awkward. A lot of times she ends up missing whatever she is attacking, or she stands there and does nothing because something else shoots first. So she needs a faster first attack speed and a faster projectile speed, so she doesn't miss her target. But to compensate, she needs a smaller knockback, right? Obviously, if she has a faster first hit, she'll be knocking back more often. But to compensate, reduce her knockback by like half a tile, so she isn't too annoying. Okay. Now the final card here on my buff list, guys, is gonna be a buff to an absolutely crazy card that everyone is gonna disagree with, and that is the Expo, guys. Buff the Expo, right? It's too weak as it is right now, guys. It's way too hard to play defense with the Expo. You know, stacking an Expo on your side of the arena, it's way too hard to have 4 Expos down, okay? When I play Expo, I can only ever get 3 Expos down, and I really want to have 4. I really want to have 4 Expos on my side of the arena, not just 3, okay? And the only time I ever win with Expo is when my opponent makes one small mistake. I want to win when they make no mistake. They can play perfectly, I still want to win, okay? With Expo right now, the only way I win is if my opponent makes the tiniest little mistake, then I use my 3 Expos and I win. That's too hard. I want to have 4 Expos and win. So here's my idea: make the Expo last 30 seconds longer. It doesn't last nearly long enough as it does right now, so it needs to last longer. Make it last a minute and a half. That way I can have 4 Expos down at a time and win every single battle. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking, okay? Some of you guys think I'm serious right now. I'm obviously just joking, okay? I'm just joking here. I'm just kind of trolling a bit on the Expo stuff. You guys know how I feel about Expo. But seriously, the last card here on my buff list is going to be the Hog Rider. This is a pretty controversial one. I know everyone hates Hog Rider. Like I said before, guys, I do have a free-to-play account at 5,000 trophies, level 10. I face Hog Riders all the time. Like, literally, the most common deck I face is, like, Valkyrie, Hog, Wizard, Minion Horde, right? Like, just crazy decks. Hog Rider Wizard is so popular at my trophy range. But it's just a really hard card to use, and I don't think it's very strong at all. Like, Hog Rider is so hard to use successfully. There's a reason why it only has a 36% win rate in grand challenges at tourney standard, because it's just a fairly, in my opinion, kind of weak card, right? Like, even though you do see it a lot in the middle of ladder, the problem with that is it's often a level 13 Hog Rider, you know, versus a level 10 tower or whatever, or level 11 tower. It's often the Hog Rider being over leveled and not the Hog Rider itself being strong. You don't see a whole lot of Hog Riders being used at the top of ladder or in grand challenges, because the problem is, in the meta right now, there are so many cards that counter Hog Rider. If you use a Hog deck, like, you're going to face, you know, NATO, Fisherman now, Mega Knight, P.E.K.K.A, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Tombstone, Goblin Cage, Ram Rider counters it. Like, there's so many cards in the meta right now that counter the Hog Rider. It is such a hard win condition to use, and one of the lowest win rate win conditions in the game. So I would love to see like a, you know, 3% damage buff or 3% health buff for the Hog Rider. Not a huge one, a tiny, minuscule, itsy bitsy little update, or buff rather, for the Hog Rider, okay? But anyways, guys, that is the end of my list. I know it's crazy, it's ridiculous, and you guys probably hate me now. I apologize, but that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see a massive buff update that changes the meta like crazy. You know, buff the recruits, buff the E-bars, buff the Hog Rider, buff the Wizard, make it crazy for a month, and, you know, have it go wild, you know? I don't know, guys. I'm just being very optimistic here. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know if you guys disagree with me. If you had 8 cards to buff, you can't nerf any cards, guys. You can't nerf anything. If you had 8 cards to buff in the next balance update, what would you buff and how? Okay? Do you guys disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Do you hate me now for saying buff Hog Rider? Do you hate me now for saying buff Wizard? Obviously, guys, I don't work at Supercell. I'm not on the balance team. So anything I say here is not going to be happening in game. So don't worry. Just because I said buff Hog Rider, it will not happen. Just because I said it. Maybe they will, but that's on them. Whatever I say here will not impact the balance changes at all, okay? So don't worry about it. It's just me kind of just sharing my personal thoughts, but it's just fun to do. Let me know your thoughts, guys, down below in those comments. And once again, if you want to see more of these videos in the future, leave a like. Let me know as well down below if you want to see more. But that is the end of the video, guys. And I really, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe for more cash flow content. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We shall see you in the next one.